The drama revolves around Ling Chao and Xiao Tu, two neighbors who practically grew up side by side from the cradle. They were born only days apart, their families became inseparable, and over time, the two ended up functioning like a pair of lifelong rivals. From a young age, they argued about anything, competed over everything, and turned even the dumbest little details into a personal duel. But behind that constant war, there was always a very strong connection. Ling Chao was the brilliant, disciplined, almost perfect boy, the one who always got the best grades and seemed to have everything under control. Xiao Tu, on the other hand, was impulsive, distracted, messy, and an expert at getting herself into trouble. That was exactly why they made such an entertaining duo. He brought the logic and she brought the chaos. And although at first glance they seemed to spend their lives fighting, deep down no one knew one better than the other. From very early on, Ling Chao carried a little thorn in his side that marked him deeply. His mother, Wen Hui, had always wished to have a daughter, so Xiao Tu's presence, so close, cheerful, and adorable, ended up stealing part of the attention he wanted for himself. That pushed him to demand even more from himself, as if becoming the best at everything were the only way to prove that he also deserved to be the center of family pride. Without even realizing it much, Xiao Tu became the secret measure by which Ling Chao compared everything in his life. That is why, even though he pretended he only tolerated her out of habit, in reality he thought about her far too much. Every argument, every competition, and every little clash between them hid something much deeper than a simple childhood friendship. As they grew older, that strange relationship became even more complicated. Xiao Tu kept getting herself into embarrassing situations, and Ling Chao kept showing up just in time to get her out of trouble, even though he would later pretend to be annoyed. In middle school, for example, she goes through one of those moments no one would ever want to live through. An accident with her uniform leaves her exposed in front of half the school, and while everyone starts whispering and laughing, Ling Chao reacts instantly. He ties his jacket around her waist, pulls her away from other people's stares, and keeps the humiliation from getting worse. The scene sparks rumors all over the school, because to anyone watching, it was pretty obvious that this supposedly cold genius had gotten nervous because of Xiao Tuesday. He tries to act like nothing happened, but those kinds of gestures give him away more than he would like. Xiao Tu, for her part, starts to notice that Ling Chao's attention toward her does not resemble that of a simple childhood friend anymore, although she still does not really know what to do with that idea. As if that were not enough, Xiao Tu discovers one of Ling Chao's most embarrassing secrets and uses it to her advantage to blackmail him. That is how she manages to force him to help her in one of her most absurd plans: getting back a phone confiscated by a teacher. What begins as a school mission almost ends in disaster, because both of them wind up trapped in a ridiculous situation inside the teacher's office. However, that kind of madness also becomes part of the charm between them. Ling Chao may grumble and call her troublesome with just a look, but in the end he always winds up neck deep in Xiao Tu's ideas. And the most curious thing is that, although he swears all of that only gets in his way, when she is not around his world loses color. Xiao Tu, meanwhile, relies on him so much that she does not even realize how deeply she trusts his presence. During those years, Jiang Huan also appears, Xiao Tu's best friend, who becomes an expert at stirring up emotional noise where nobody called her. She is one of the first to notice that there is a different kind of tension between Ling Chao and Xiao Tu, something that goes far beyond the normal fights between two kids who grew up together. Meanwhile, Ling Chao continues standing out as the most popular and intelligent student in the class, and Xiao Tu remains at the opposite extreme. A girl with good intentions, a lot of energy, but pretty bad luck when it comes to grades. Even so, whenever she feels clumsy or inadequate, he is the first to remind her that a person's worth does not depend on an exam. That difference between them never ends up separating them. On the contrary, it is exactly what makes each of them bring something essential to the other. Ling Chao brings stability where Xiao Tu improvises, and Xiao Tu gives warmth to someone who on the outside seems far too restrained. Then an important stage arrives in Ling Chao's life: the return of his father, Ling Bo. 4 years, that man had been more absence than presence, so his return does not awaken excitement but discomfort. Ling Chao carries old wounds that do not disappear just because someone suddenly shows up with money, success, and the face of regret. Wen Hui tries to repair the atmosphere, but for him it is not so easy to accept a father who was absent when he needed him most. Xiao Tu once again becomes a key piece in that process, because instead of pushing him to forgive out of obligation, she understands that he needs time. That sensitivity of Xiao Tu's, although sometimes hidden behind her clumsiness, begins to matter much more in Ling Chao's life. She is one of the few people capable of seeing what he does not express. And that is why, even when they argue, she is still the place he comes back to. In the middle of all that chaos, Yin Zihan appears, a boy who enters the story first as an academic rival and then as a kind of romantic competition. Een Zihan is charismatic, dreams of becoming a singer, and begins approaching Xiao Tu with an interest that she interprets in a rather naive way. The funny thing is that, while Xiao Tu thinks she is deciphering the signs of a possible admirer, Ling Chao begins to experience a new poison for him: jealousy. At first, he tries to hide it. Then he makes fun of it. Later he acts as if he does not care. But little by little it becomes obvious that the mere idea of seeing Xiao Tu look at another boy stirs his soul. Een Zihan also has something that makes him even more uncomfortable for Ling Chao. He admires him, competes with him, and at the same time easily enters the space that had always belonged only to Xiao Tu and him. That is when Ling Chao begins to understand that his bond with her matters to him in a dangerous way. As Xiao Tu grows up, she also begins to discover that Ling Chao is not just that flawless boy who gets good grades and is always scolding her. She sees him worry about his mother, break his pride a little while trying to reconcile with his father, and react with real anger when someone hurts or humiliates her. Little by little, the image of the usual annoying classmate begins to mix with that of someone reliable, protective, and increasingly important. At several moments in school, Ling Chao stands in front of others to defend her, but he does not do it from an exaggerated heroic stance, but from that automatic impulse of someone who cannot stand seeing her suffer. Xiao Tu does not know how to name all of that, but her heart does begin to react. Strange things happen to her when he looks at her, when he gets too close, or when he treats her with a tenderness she cannot explain. And as usually happens in this kind of story, what first seems like simple habit later transforms into something much harder to hide. Later on, when the group enters that stage where the future starts to feel frightening, each character takes their own path. Ling Chao remains the same as ever, focused, brilliant, and with a clear goal. Xiao Tu, on the other hand, still does not know what to do with her life, and that frustrates her deeply. She sees how everyone else seems to have defined plans, while she is still stumbling between insecurity and the desire not to disappoint anyone. Ling Chao then becomes her greatest support. Instead of treating her like someone incapable, he patiently pushes her to find her own path. He encourages her to study seriously, supports her emotionally when she feels lost, and, without Xiao Tu knowing it at first, even moves a few pieces to strengthen her in important moments. That is where it becomes clear that what he feels is no longer just childish attachment. Ling Chao watches over her with a dedication he has for no one else. At that stage, Yi Jun appears, the old acquaintance who stirs up a certain confusion in Xiao Tu and provokes another good dose of jealousy in Ling Chao. For a while, Xiao Tu thinks she might feel something for him, especially because he represents a mature and kind image that makes her question what she truly feels. But that very confusion ends up helping everything become clear. Seeing Xiao Tu interested in other boys, Ling Chao stops lying to himself. He realizes that he does not want to lose his place in her life and that his need to keep her close cannot be explained by the word friendship. What is interesting is that this revelation does not immediately turn him into an expert in love. On the contrary, it makes him awkward, possessive at times, and even a little ridiculous in his attempts to get closer. But that is also part of the series' charm. Watching a boy who always had control over everything begin to lose it precisely when it comes to the heart. Ling Chao manages to get into the university he wants, Yunhai University, and chooses computer science, a perfect major for someone as brilliant and structured as he is. Xiao Tu still hesitates, but in the end she makes one of the most important decisions of her life by trying to enter that same city too, this time following not only the desire to be close to him, but also a conviction of her own. That part of Xiao Tu's growth is very beautiful because she stops being only the girl who goes along with everything and starts becoming someone who makes decisions with greater maturity. When the time for the decisive exam finally comes, Ling Chao watches over her in a way that says everything. And afterward, when a romantic moment almost arises by the lakeside, Xiao Tu ruins the tension with one of those clumsy impulses so typical of her. That mix of tenderness, chaos, and badly expressed feelings becomes one of the clearest marks of the couple. Once they are in college, the story enters a new stage. Xiao Tu arrives at a dorm where she shares space with girls with very different personalities, including Jiang Huan and Su Linglong, with whom she carries old clashes. Ling Chao also enters his own university world, surrounded by classmates who end up becoming allies and accomplices in his romantic disaster. At a social gathering, Xiao Tu loses a game and has to ask a stranger for his number. For anyone else, it would have been a simple joke, but for Ling Chao it feels like a direct attack on his heart. So he puts on one of his best performances. He pretends to be drunk to capture Xiao Tu's attention, gets her to accompany him, and uses the moment to discreetly erase the number another boy had written on her hand. It is a very small scene, but it perfectly sums up who Ling Chao is when it comes to Xiao Tu. Calculating, jealous, clever, and completely incapable of staying on the sidelines. From that point on, his strategy changes. It is no longer enough for him to wait for things to happen on their own. With the help of his dorm mates, he decides to start truly winning her over. And since he has never done anything like that before, his attempts mix genuine romance with a pretty funny awkwardness. He saves seats for her, walks her to class, looks for excuses to run into her, gets jealous of Jiang-hoo, the college boy who tries to get close to Xiao-tu, and ends up understanding that if he keeps waiting too long, someone else might get there first. Then comes one of the most memorable moments. Xiao-tu's birthday. Ling Chao uses his programming talent to set up a huge surprise and make the building lights form a message for her. He also gives her a camera, a detail that is not only romantic, but also very thoughtful, because it recognizes something Xiao-tu truly likes. That gesture shakes her from within. Xiao-tu finally begins to accept that what she feels for him is not simple habit or family-like affection. It is something that truly unsettles her. From that point on, the story plays a lot with that delicious limbo between almost and not yet. Xiao-tu tries to understand her feelings, gets nervous when Ling Chao comes too close, and starts reacting with jealousy when she sees other girls interested in him, especially Su Linglong. Ling Chao, for his part, no longer wants to keep hiding. He even confesses to his parents that he likes Xiao-tu, and although they are excited, they also understand that winning over a girl like her will not be so easy for someone who has always solved everything with logic, not with emotions. The path toward the official confession is then filled with ambiguous scenes, shy gestures, long glances, birthdays, failed attempts, and that tension that grows every time the two of them are left alone. The series takes its time, and that suits it well, because it lets the romance mature instead of throwing it all out at once. The situation takes a strong turn when Jiang-hoo, convinced he is irresistible, tries to corner Xiao-tu's day. That scene serves as a reminder of something important. Xiao-tu may be absent-minded, but she is not naive to the point of accepting just anyone treating her like a trophy. She rejects that attitude, and when the situation becomes uncomfortable, Ling Chao appears with the confidence of someone who had been observing the scene for a while. In addition, he had already gathered proof to expose Jiang-hoo, so he not only rescues her from the moment, but also tears down the whole facade of the supposed heartthrob. That episode completely confirms something for Xiao-tu. Every time the world becomes tangled around her, Ling Chao is there. Not because she is incapable of facing it alone, but because he takes care of her in a natural, constant, and quiet way. After that, the two travel together to a competition, walk around at night, and the atmosphere between them becomes impossible to ignore. And finally, at the hotel, Ling Chao finds the moment to say what he had been carrying inside for years. Ling Chao's confession is not only the logical step of the romance, it is also the closing of a very long stage of hidden feelings. Xiao-tu, who had always seemed to live half-distracted through everything, finally stops running away from what she feels. So the two of them, after years of living as rivals, allies, neighbors, and almost everything at once, finally become a couple. The beautiful thing is that the relationship does not change its essence. They still tease each other, still compete over silly things, and still have that love and fight energy that defines them. But now all of that has a different foundation. Xiao-tu is happy, though she does not really know how to behave as a girlfriend. Jiang Huan, of course, gets involved again to advise her, and Xiao-tu begins imitating romantic attitudes in such an exaggerated way that it becomes more funny than effective. Ling Chao, far from asking her to change, makes it clear that what he likes most about her is exactly the way she is. He does not want a manufactured version or a manual perfect girlfriend. He wants the real Xiao-tu, with all her awkwardness, spontaneity, and chaos. However, being together does not mean everything suddenly becomes easy. Now they have to deal with another problem: keeping the relationship secret, especially from their parents. Xiao-tu fears that if the family finds out too soon, they will turn the relationship into a serious discussion about marriage and the future. Ling Chao is not happy about that, because he would like to openly acknowledge what he feels, but he ends up accepting that phase of hidden meetings out of love for her. During the summer, both of them take advantage of any gap they can to see each other, although family interruptions ruin more than one date. The funny thing is that the mothers have suspected the truth for a while and, instead of opposing them, decide to help them in silence. So, between sneaking around, stolen kisses, misunderstandings, and small quarrels, the couple begins to find a dynamic of their own. Even when they argue, reconciliation usually comes quickly, because both of them have already learned that life feels strange when the other gets too far away. Another detail that makes the story feel alive is how it handles the small everyday misunderstandings. When Xiao-tu begins to suspect that what she has with Ling Chao is no longer a simple friendship, instead of confronting it directly, she does the most Xiao-tu thing possible. She starts acting strange, avoids him a little, and then ends up looking for him again because she also does not know how to stay far away. Ling Chao, who on the outside always seems so calm, does not have it any better either. There are moments when he tries to get closer with all the romantic intention in the world and still ends up making a fool of himself because Xiao Tu reacts in the most unexpected way. Sometimes he creates a perfect atmosphere and she breaks it out of nervousness. Other times she approaches him sincerely and he gets too stiff to respond the way he wants. That mutual awkwardness keeps the relationship from becoming overly sweet and makes it feel more human. They are two people who have known each other forever, but precisely because of that it is even harder for them to take the leap and admit that they no longer look at each other the way they did before. Later on, the story introduces Zhou Xingyu, the boy with the motorcycle, whose arrival triggers another round of jealousy in Ling Chao. Xiao Tu meets him when a street incident happens to be recorded by chance and she uses that video to prove the truth of what occurred. From that point on, Zhou Xingyu becomes fascinated with her and starts following her with a rather persistent enthusiasm. For Ling Chao, that is a total alarm. Zhou Xingyu not only pursues her shamelessly, but also enjoys provoking Ling Chao, behaving like a rival who wants to make his interest obvious. That threat brings out another side of the protagonist. Someone who, although outwardly maintaining a certain composure, can inwardly become intensely territorial when it comes to Xiao Tuesday. That is why he takes a step that means a lot for him. He posts an official photo of the two of them and makes the relationship public. It is his way of making it clear, without any detours, that Xiao Tu has a defined place in his life. That same period also brings one of the most beautiful gestures in the entire series. Ling Chao buys an apartment near the television station where Xiao Tu dreams of working and decorates it with her tastes in mind. It is not simply a material gift or an exaggerated display. It is a quiet promise of the future. He does not only want her by his side in the present, but also in the life he imagines for the years to come. Xiao Tu is deeply moved by that, because she begins to feel that Ling Chao does not see her as a passing love, but as part of his life project. Seeing the solidity of that relationship, Zhou Xingyu ends up stepping out of the love triangle. And that makes it even clearer that what Ling Chao and Xiao Tu have is no longer an improvised school romance, but a story that has grown with them. As time passes, they both enter the stage of professional internships. Xiao Tu begins working as an intern at Yunhai TV station, but reality hits her hard. Although she has enthusiasm, she gets the worst part of the job: errands, coffee, paperwork, and very few real opportunities to show what she can do. On top of that, the department boss blatantly favors someone else. So Xiao Tu feels that the working world can be far crueler than university life. Ling Chao, on his side, is not living through a perfect streak either. Although he is still brilliant, he also begins to experience rare setbacks and failures in his career, something that humanizes his character even more. He is no longer the always invincible boy he used to be. And that makes the relationship between the two of them more mature, because now they no longer share only teenage nerves, but also the exhaustion, pressure, and uncertainty of the real world. Already in the adult stage, when both of them are tired from work and carrying pressure on their shoulders, the series gets it right by not turning the romance into something fragile. On the contrary, it shows that it is precisely in that stage that the love between them becomes stronger. Xiao Tu begins to believe more in her own professional voice, even when the station downplays her. Ling Chao learns that he cannot always win and that failure does not make him less valuable. Both of them stop idealizing each other so much and begin to stand by one another from a more realistic place. He still looks at her with the same devotion, but now he also respects her as a woman fighting for her place. She still sees in him her firmest support, although she no longer needs him only to rescue her, but also to share the weight of an adult life that can sometimes be exhausting. That transition from youthful love to companionate love gives the ending a very complete feeling, as if the series were not only telling who ended up with whom, but how they learned to truly stay together. In the middle of that stage, Yin Zihan returns, but now no longer as the boy who dreamed of singing, but as a rising star. His career takes off, and he ends up being a fundamental piece in giving Xiao Tu an important opportunity at the station. Thanks to that interview, she manages to show initiative and earns more respect. It is nice how the series allows Yin Zihan to remain relevant without turning him into a romantic villain. He represents more a person who truly cared about Xiao Tu, but who knew how to accept his place once he understood that her heart had always revolved around Ling Chao. Meanwhile, the main relationship continues evolving with a mixture of maturity and tenderness. There are still jokes, there is still occasional jealousy, but there is also real support, companionship in failures, and the certainty that the two of them form a team. When the families finally end up becoming more directly involved, something happens that mixes humor with inevitability. The parents practically get them engaged. It may sound rushed, but the series handles it with that warm tone in which everyone deep down had been seeing this ending coming for years. For those around Ling Chao and Xiao Tu, the romance does not feel like a complete surprise, but rather like the natural conclusion of a story that began when they were children. What does change is that now they are no longer the two kids in school uniforms, but young adults with a shared journey, personal wounds, work plans, and a relationship capable of surviving more complex stages. And that gives weight to the engagement, because it is born not only from romantic impulse, but from a very long emotional coexistence. The final stretch of the story also resolves one of the most important loose threads, the bond between Ling Chao and his father. With time, he discovers that Ling Bo, despite the distance and his mistakes, never really stopped following his life. An album full of memories, awards, and traces of his growth ends up serving as proof of that silent affection that he did not know how to express well. That moment helps close an old wound and reconcile Ling Chao with a part of his personal history. Xiao Tu, as on so many other occasions, is there to accompany him. She does not steal the spotlight from his pain or pretend to solve everything. She is simply present, which is one of the things she does best when someone she loves needs her. That constant presence explains why Ling Chao could never take her out of his life, even when he still did not understand that he was in love. Finally, the proposal arrives. Ling Chao takes Xiao Tu to a place filled with meaning, looks back with her on the path they have traveled, and shows her that their story was not built in 1 month or in 2 pretty dates, but over the course of an entire shared life. There, with all those memories weighing in their favor, he proposes marriage. Xiao Tu accepts, of course, but what is valuable is not only the yes, but everything that moment sums up. Childhood, competition, jealousy, reconciliations, first impulses, university, work, growth, and a love that took time to say its name, but had been forming for years. The series wraps up with a jump into the future where both of them appear as parents, showing that time changed their roles, but not the essence of what they built. They are still themselves, only now more mature, calmer, and still deeply connected. In the end, exclusive fairy tale works so well because it does not try to sell an instant or perfect romance. What it shows is a love story that grows slowly, among silly arguments, real support, poorly hidden jealousy, and a mutual familiarity so strong that it ends up becoming destiny. Ling Chao does not fall in love with a stranger who appears out of nowhere. He falls in love with a girl who has been there in every stage of his life, the only one capable of disturbing his balance. Xiao Tu, for her part, stops seeing Ling Chao only as the unbearable genius next door and begins to recognize him as the person who knows her best and supports her the most. That is why their romance feels so satisfying. It is not born from empty fantasy, but from years of real closeness. And when they finally end up together, the feeling is not that of something improvised, but of a story that had been looking for exactly that ending for a very long time. End of the drama.